Hiya everybody, how are we all feeling post Reichenbach Falls? I just finished watching the episode and I'm sure many people are feeling devastated, but I'm actually feeling kind of elated at how brilliant that episode was. It was bloody brilliant. They were back up there on their A game without a doubt. The casting, the script writing, the cinematography, all flawless, all fantastic. A bit of, a few cliches there with the whole fighting on the angel side thing, but you know what? They delivered them so well that it didn't matter. It really didn't matter. It was like quality over content, or actually pretty much quality content all around. I will struggle to find flaws in this. Also, purple fedora here. This is for you, Bridget. You asked and you got. But I am going to take it off now, as it will prove to be a distraction for me. Can I just say that Andrew Scott played Moriarty this episode to a Shakespearean degree. It was just every subtle facial tic, every squint and side look in his eyes. I mean, it was terrifying. He is, without a doubt, absolutely terrifying. And plays the Iago character so well. I mean, I know that it is possibly overdone to have planting thoughts of doubt and... Just wait for this plane to pass. There we go. Planting thoughts of doubt, but it's just, it works so well because it means that as far as he's concerned, his hands aren't dirty, and even though he's clearly morally corrupt, it's a very interesting ploy to just sit back and, he's like playing The Sims with England, he's got all these mastermind capabilities and he just waits the pawns do it all, and that's terrifying in itself that he has that much power. And he planted the thoughts of doubts into everyone so that, Shakespeare to a degree, Sherlock to a degree became Othello. He had no choice but to sort of carry on out what Iago had started, which was absolutely heartbreaking. But again, brilliant acting. Sherlock, even the subtle scenes when he's versing Kitty intellectually versing Kitty in the bathrooms in the courtroom, that was amazing. Jen from IT Crowd, bit of a squee there, like, yay, another inside reference to other UK TV shows. Just brilliant. The tension that they had, the proximity, the composition of the shot made it even better. It was fantastic. I loved how close it was to the references of the SAD book. I mean, it wasn't letter for letter, which meant the surprise twist at the end there was crazy. And I'm not talking about the, spoiler alert, the fact that Sherlock's not dead, because I always knew that. That's why I wasn't too apprehensive about this episode, was more the fact that Moriarty didn't fall with Sherlock as such, and that just was completely unexpected, because, you expected him to grab the coat and sort of tumble over together, but oh no, Moriarty once again turned the tables. Mind-blowing. It was very well done in that. I'm just going to keep praising everybody. Also, hats off, took my hat off, get it? Oh. To Mark Gatiss and Stephen Moffat for the Deerstalker references, bringing that joke back up. It's very tongue-in-cheek, and I really like the fact that they constantly seem to point out the fact that he never wore a deerstalker, but he's always portrayed as a deerstalker, and it's ridiculous, because it's just something that, popular culture put on him, and so now he always rocks it, and they thought they were going to get away with it, but instead of being like, people are going to draw Sherlock with the deerstalker on, they're like, no, we're going to put the deerstalker on him, and it's going to be an inside joke, because we're that awesome. And so they did. And I like the fact that the media seems to be eating Sherlock alive like paparazzi, because he is one of the most world-famous detectives, even though he's fictional. And if he were alive, he would easily be swamped by paparazzi to the point where he wouldn't be able to do his job or live a quiet life in London. Not that there's such as a quiet life with Sherlock Holmes, but as evidenced by the fact that John and Sherlock just sort of sat about with, fake hanging man in their apartment and all that sort of stuff. Like, they're really sort of used to unusual disturbances and having snipers and hired hitmen move into their street. John barely batted an eyelid. It just shows the level of A, tolerance that John has for that, and B, just how ridiculously dangerous their life is. The dynamics between Sherlock and John were fantastic again. They managed to play at the friendship without overdoing it. Even the chase scene with the handcuffs was not so like, oh my gosh, they're boyfriends and they're holding hands. Because if you actually watched carefully, he was holding first they held hands, which was very sweet. Hats off to the whole fan servicing thing there. And then he held onto his coat. And I liked the fact that John was like, oh, now they'll definitely talk. Like, they played it. They didn't belittle it and they didn't overdo it. It was very well handled, and that was sweet. I mean, because they didn't have the love letter, if you will, from Sherlock to John at the end, where he's like, very sincerely yours. So I guess the next best thing is hand-holding while handcuffs and a phone call. I thought that the Lestrade and Donovan and Anderson dynamics, when Donovan once again brought up the fact that she's always thought that he was, you know, in on it, was just so aggravating but so genius, because you didn't really expect the tables to turn that dramatically on him, and they did. And that was a very, very good plot point. I thought that just watching it sort of snowball and seeing Sherlock panic but also thinking on his feet, and the scene on the roof was just superb and brilliant acting from Molly Hooper as well. I mean, the biggest guilt trip to Sherlock to Molly being like, by the way, you shouldn't date anyone ever again because, you know, your last boyfriend is a mass murdering genius who's very, very scary and terrorizing the entire of London. Whoops. And the fact that Molly rose above that and happened to notice the fact that Sherlock is masking his sadness around John, and then offered emotional support and even self-deprecated herself by saying that she doesn't count, was, my goodness, that takes a lot of guts and just kindness, really, to care for Sherlock Holmes when he's treated you like garbage. That was coming from a very selfless place. I know that she might have, you know, people will say, oh, but, you know, she fancies him. But she knew she didn't stand a chance. So that was really from a selfless place. And I thought that was really beautiful and really sweet. I liked that character development on her behalf. I loved the lights going on and off behind Sherlock when he was mapping out all the possible warehouses for where the kids were, and the lights went off behind him in the business building, and then across from him as well to say, like, I owe you. That was genius bit of technique there. Oh my goodness. Absolutely phenomenal. Loved it. Loved it. I thought the subtle continuation of the IOU graffiti and replaying that theme throughout was very eye-catching and fun, like a little Spot the Hidden Mickey. I also couldn't help but notice a little bit of a Doctor Who throw with the carving IOU into apples. Mark Gatiss, what is up with you? Not Mark Gatiss, sorry. Stephen Moffat, what is up with you and your Apple messages? You're just leaving that open to become Wholock. It's gonna be all over Tumblr if it's not already. I haven't been on there in 48 hours. Goodness knows what that's gonna be like. I loved the fairy tale games with Gingerbread Man. As soon as you saw it, you knew it was run, run, run as fast as you can. You can't catch me and the Gingerbread Man. All these subtle things that we could pick up. And the fight on the roof with the fact that Moriarty was saying ordinary. Like, ordinary was the biggest insult out there. Which to them it is. Like, to be subpar intellects was just unacceptable. And Moriarty was annoyed that, you know, he's being so obvious and so boring. And the fact that he's still playing these psychological warfare games up until the very end is... I don't know even how to describe it. It's just scary and just brilliantly acted. Okay, I'm just repeating myself. I'm just basically just a ramble of how amazing it was. I loved the double meaning in certain lines, like that Mrs. Hudson became the dying woman, which if you've read the ACD book, Sherlock does arrange so that John has to go off and see if this woman's okay in her dying times. And the fact that they picked Mrs. Hudson, which, you know, Sherlock got to play the cool and aloof, oh, she's just my landlord, which allowed John to say, friends protect people, not realising full well that that was Sherlock's attempt at protecting him, only to have it all turn back around and be thrown in his face when they had to have the phone call from the top of the building, which was very upsetting. But also a bit weird, because I honestly don't know how he got out of that one. I know it must have something to do with the fact that John got knocked over, and then that truck passed, and there was a fallen figure, but it wasn't quite a fallen figure, and Molly has to be involved somewhere, because Sherlock asked something of her, so very keen for a season 3 of Sherlock to find out what magnificent plan he came up with to weasel his way out of that one. Also, screw you, Mycroft, and you're playing into Moriarty's hand. Damn, you have a lot to answer for. I mean, I don't know if it was all part of the grand scheme of things, but right now, I'm shaking my fist at you. That was so horrible watching him know that he'd sort of paved the way for his brother's fall. I know they've had their differences, and I know that he ruined his plans in Hounds of Baskerville, but I mean, obviously it wasn't intentional. He was trying to protect the government, which, you know, that's his job. He needs to do that. And he sometimes puts country before blood, which, you know, in the case of the Holmes brothers isn't too unusual. They seem to put a lot of things before themselves, and then themselves before other things as well. It just depends on the dynamics. I am you line from Moriarty and Sherlock on the building, that entire thing was just scary. Moriarty searching in his eyes to find out that if Sherlock legit meant it, and clearly seeing exactly what he wanted to see, otherwise he wouldn't have realized such a risk that he played. So he eliminated the ability to win, which is just dastardly. I also liked the subtle but little beautiful reference to his military background, John's military background, that after he touches the gravestone he does a little slight military turn. That was just a nod to where he came from. And, I mean, heartbreaking opening the scene at the therapist's office, which is where season 1 sort of all began. It's like, nothing happens to me anymore, and then ending up with like, well, you've read the paper and my friend is dead, but I refuse to believe this slander, and I will support him till the end. So, loyal and true, Watson. Well done. I salute you. Oh man, I'm making the worst little puns and jokes today. I apologize. I'm getting a cold. Clearly I'm just delirious. Yes, the fact that anyone could have believed that sudden Moriarty was Richard Brooks was so annoying, because, I mean, I knew for a second John wouldn't fall for it, because you can doctor all those forms. Those newspaper clippings, the fact that anyone could believe that in these days is just ridiculous. And that's also scary. Like, what the episode highlighted is the fact that, you know, you can doctor all the forms and sort of make people believe anything, because it's 2012 and we have the internet and we have design degrees and so yes, I liked it. Once again, everyone thought that Moriarty had this key, like how everyone thought that he wanted those plans in the first season, and he's just in it for the sheer joy of the game, which is sick and scary, but he makes everyone fall into his lap, so there's a lot of power, and he abuses that power. Also, does anyone know if there was a mention to Moran? I missed it. If there was one, feel free to point it out, but I might have missed it. But there was a lot of hitmen involved, so who knows. But overall, brilliant ACD adaptation. Phenomenal episode. Loved the filming, loved the cast. I was jumping in my seat at points. No tears from me, so I'm sure that some people found that. I mean, I did feel very sad when Mrs. Hudson was having her little rant at the gravestone about all the things that he did in the apartment and she got choked up. That was quite depressing. But yes, just a really intense and well-filmed episode. Bring on season 3. I'm definitely not leaving the Sherlock fandom anytime soon. Too much excitement, too much brilliance. You're all brilliant. Anything But Ordinary is the Sherlock fandom, and Anything But Ordinary is Mark Gatiss and Stephen Moffat and the entire cast. You deserve all the awards. You better pick up every BAFTA, every single one of you, I swear. You deserve it. If not, things rigged, and you should really have words with whoever's in charge. So yes, that's enough of me gushing, and see you all when there's something else to watch, I guess. Toodles!